Salve to Discipuli, this is Magister Buddy with the Stage 4 lesson about first and second person verbs. Before we launch into our new verb endings, let's do a quick review of our nouns. Remember, we have three different cases: nominative, accusative, and ablative. The nominative has two different functions. It can be the subject. It can also be the subject complement. The kid sits. This is an action verb. Sitting is an action verb, and the kid is subject. In Latin, kid would be nominative. The kid is smart. Both kid and smart would be nominative in Latin. Kid is the subject. Is a linking verb. Smart is a subject complement because it's completing the subject, describing the subject. Okay, accusative. We have two different functions for the accusative. Direct object or object of preposition. Example is the direct object. A kid throws the ball. The ball is directly receiving the action of the verb, which is throws, so it's our direct object. He throws the ball into the net. Here, the net is going with the preposition. Into the net is a prep phrase. Ablative. Right now, ablatives only have one function, object of a preposition. The kid sits in the kitchen. In the kitchen is a prep phrase. All right, here's a layout of our noun endings so far. First declension, a. Second declension, us, o. Third declension, ad, e. Here's an example of each in action. So poeta, poetam, poeta. Annulus, annulum, annulo. Eudex, eudicem, eudice. I'm going to pause for just a moment, not really talking about nouns, talking about pronunciation. When you have an I surrounded by vowels, or oftentimes at the beginning of the word with a vowel after it, you pronounce it kind of like a Y, a y. So this isn't eudex, this is eudex, eudicem, eudice. You'll get used to it. It's kind of weird and funky at first. All right, prepositions. We've got one more preposition. Quick review though first. So for our ablatives, we have in. In takes the ablative. It's translated as in or on. E or X, mean out of or from, also takes the ablative. And then we have only still one for the accusative. Ad means to or toward. So the dog is in the street. In the street's a prep phrase. In the Latin, street here would be ablative. The dog runs to the street. Street here in the Latin would be accusative. Because to is odd, and odd takes the accusative. The dog runs out of the street. Out of the street is a prep phrase. Here street would be ablative because out of is E or X. And that's a preposition that takes the ablative. All right, a little bit more about connectors. We have another connector in this stage. Said is another connector. It will usually connect two of the same things. So it can connect two verbs. The dog runs, but doesn't jump. It's connecting two verbs here. Direct objects. He holds water, but not food. It's connecting two direct objects. It can connect phrases. Keller starts a painting, but does not finish. So we've got a verb and a direct object. Over here, we really just have a verb. It's a negative verb, but it's just a verb. The subject and the direct object are both assumed over here. We know that it's still Keller, or in this case, not doing the finishing, and we know that it's the painting that's not being finished. That's just assumed. Both Latin and English do that. Up here, I said usually connect two of the same things. Just as in English, and it sounds kind of sloppy when people do this, but just as in English, Latin can start with said, but I don't want to. It can be the, said there, or the word but would be the beginning of the sentence. Oftentimes, though, it is connecting two sames. All right, so here's the new stuff for our verbs. Up until now, our verb has always ended in T. And we didn't call it this before, but this is what we call a third person verb. The subject is she, he, or it. Or it might be a named subject like the cook, the boy, or grumio. Now we're going to be able to say verbs with I and verbs with you. I is first person, and in Latin it'll end in an O. You is second person, and in Latin it will end with an S. T, as we've seen, is third person. It'll be she, he, it, or a stated subject. So let's look at an action. Kokuo, kokuis, kokwit. So I cook, you cook, she, he, or it cooks. And in this chapter, new is the word for I, which is ego. The word for you is tu. Now, it is a little bit redundant because this right here, this word by itself means I cook. So the ego there really isn't necessary. It's really just there for emphasis. Same with kokwis. We know that you are doing the cooking because it ends in an S, but the tu is just there for emphasis. So for example, ego kokuo, I cook. Tu kokwis, you cook. Grumio kokwit, grumio cooks. All right, going beyond est. So est means she, he, or it is. Sum means I am. Es means you are. Now this is an irregular verb. It doesn't follow our patterns perfectly, but you can notice that we've got the S there for the second person singular, and we've got the T there for the third person singular. So as a linking verb, ego sum kokuis. Ego is nominative, kokuis is nominative. I am a cook. Tu es kokuis. Tu is nominative. Es is our linking verb. Kokuis is nominative. You are a cook. Grumio est kokuis. Grumio is nominative. Est is a linking verb. Kokuis is also nominative. Grumio is a cook. All right. Go ahead and copy down these 6 sentences. If you're looking at an ablative or accusative with a preposition, mark it as a prep phrase by putting it in parentheses. If it's an action verb, mark it with a V. If it's a linking verb, mark it as an LV. If it's nominative, mark it as a subject or possibly a subject complement, but only if it's going with a linking verb. If it's accusative and there's no preposition next to it, mark it as a direct object. All right, let's look at what we have here. Our first sentence, it's actually a pair of sentences. Caecilius recitat, ego recito. Okay, there's no prep phrases here. Caecilius is nominative, it's our subject. Recitat is a verb. Ego is the subject. Recito is also a verb. So even though our verb doesn't end in end in T, instead it ends in O, I'm still going to mark it as the verb. So Caecilius recites, I recite. All right, Quintus dormit, tu dormis. Quintus is nominative, that's our subject. Dormit is a verb. Tu is nominative, it's our subject. Dormis is a verb. Notice how this means you and this S at the end of the verb means you. So here we have subject-verb agreement. Quintus sleeps, you sleep. Tu laboras, servus laboras. Tu is nominative, it's our subject. Laboras is our verb. Notice this means you and this means you. So the subject and the verb agree. Servus laborat. Servus is nominative, it's our subject. Laborat is our verb. Sifax servum habet, ego servum habeo. All right, a little bit more complicated here. So sifax is in the odd box. It's nominative, it's our subject. Servum, it ends in an M. It's our accusative and there's no preposition around, so it's a direct object. Habet is a verb. Ego is our subject because it's nominative. Servum is a direct object. Again, no preps around, so it's our direct object. Habeo is also a verb. So sifax has a slave. I have a slave. Ego pecuniam trado, tu pecuniam tradis. Ego is nominative, it's our subject. Pecuniam, accusative direct object. Trado, verb. Tu, nominative, so it's our subject. Pecuniam, again, direct object because it's accusative. Tradis is the verb. I hand over money. You hand over money. All right, now we have a nice complicated sentence. Pantagathus est tonsor, tu es mercator, sed ego sum poeta. First, let's recognize that we've got a connector here. I'm going to circle it. and we've got sames on either side. Let's see what those sames are. Ooh, we've got to is a nominative, a subject, s is a linking verb, mercator is a subject complement, ego is a subject, sum is a linking verb, poita is subject complement. So we've got subject, linking verb, subject complement, subject, linking verb, subject complement. So this connector here is connecting complete clauses, complete phrases. That's the same. Go back over here. Pantagathus is nominative, it's a subject. Est is a linking verb. Tonsor is also nominative because it's in the odd box. It's a subject complement. So Pantagathus is the barber. You are a merchant, but I am a poet. All right, discipuli. Remember, English relies on word order to indicate function, but Latin relies on endings to indicate function. Make sure you are staying on top of your endings. Make sure you know all of your noun endings and your verb endings so that you can decode those words when you see them. Vale, discipuli.